have some problem to introduce properly. I don't want to make any mistake with name. Sorry. So let me introduce for this first keynote about state of hardware in Africa, Mr. Nick Allen from Savannah, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully my dance moves are, were entertaining. I think the next bit's going to be interesting, but maybe not quite as entertaining. If we can get some slides going. Okay, while we're waiting, let's go back a little bit. All right. Thanks very much. So, my name is Nick Allen. I am the managing partner of the Savant Venture Fund. Savant is a deep tech and hardware fund and incubator based in South Africa. We've been incubating businesses in the hardware space since 2004, and we've been investing in them through partnerships with the Technology Innovation Agency and other agencies in South Africa since 2015, and through our own venture fund since 2019, and starting to look at what's happening in the rest of the continent. And so we'll be talking about the hardware component of what we do. There were some questions and queries as to whether we were going to see the Savant patented deep tech analyzer in today's presentation, but we won't, because it is a hardware presentation. We would have brought our Savant patented hardware analyzer, but they wouldn't let it on the plane. So unfortunately, we'll get our ducks in a row and our necessary approvals in place before we head to the next one. So the first thing is, what is hardware? Obviously, it's a physical product, and I think it's clear that physical products are important to us because we live in a physical world. So we need more innovation in that space, and we're looking for sufficient innovation to look at to define something as a hardware technology startup, and we're specifically not looking for companies that are installing imported innovation. Just we want to work with companies that are innovating on the hardware level. That's really important to us. So obviously, why is hardware important? Again, we live in a physical world. It has a huge impact on environmental sustainability. Anybody with a PV panel on their roof and a battery pack, knows that they are not burning coal. That's a key consideration. We'll invest in a number of very innovative hardware solutions doing biogas and other environmental power solutions. They're the foundation. Everything needs to run on a hardware platform. It gives us the opportunity to run software. 10 years ago, we saw very few businesses that we worked with that have a software angle to them. Today, pretty much everything that we have has a very strong software component to them, which is, it's added a level of complexity to a very complex environment already. But that's just the nature of hardware, and it drives innovation. Again, it creates an environment in where innovation can take place. So what did we look at? We partnered. We got a lot of information from the guys at Brighter, and what we got over the last 8 years was quite interesting. We've found $3,200 million invested in hardware technology or hardware on the continent in 447 deals, making up 16% of the VC deals on the continent. And to be honest, that was a bit of a surprise to me. I was like, wow, that's a lot bigger than anticipated. And so we dug into those numbers a little bit, and we went back to understanding what exactly we look for in a hardware technology business, and going back to the point of, is this innovation that's happening on the continent, or is this imported technology just being installed And one of the things that we did find is that there's a lot of, in that $3.2 billion, there's a great deal of a PV installation, guys doing fantastic work, but not necessarily meeting our criteria. So we look to take that out of the equation and see what the numbers look like. The other side of things, we came across one or two mega deals that had a huge impact on these numbers, and weren't, in our views, necessarily African companies. The one in particular was Zipline, which on its own comprised about $800 million of that $3.2 billion. So if we go close into the numbers, we get to the point where over that period, only $268 million has been invested in deep tech and hardware, specifically hardware on the continent in that 8-year period. So it is a very small amount. However, what's really interesting is, despite the fact that it's so small, over the period from 2015 to 2021, and we stopped it at 2021 specifically because of the downturn in 2022. The number or the value of the amount invested in those hardware startups had increased by 50 times. Also interesting is that the number of startups invested in, or the number of VC investments into hardware, had increased 10 times. However, the value, so there's more money going into more businesses, which is a great trend. I was thinking about the comment made yesterday in the keynote about where the fintech investment environment was 10 years ago, and this is something that resonates. It's a small number but growing very rapidly, and showing great opportunity, great promise. Where's all this happening? Again, before we looked at the impact of mega deals on these numbers, Rwanda with 80 investments over that 8-year period was far and away the highest because of that one single investment. But when we look at the true innovation in hardware on the continent, we see, unsurprisingly, Kenya, South Africa, Egypt, and Nigeria dominating, again, the big four in the space. And I think there's probably not a great deal of surprise to see that Kenya, South Africa are by far the biggest, the most dominant players on the continent. Going into what's happening locally, going into the sectors, again, not particularly surprising. Clean tech dominating, health and biotech, mobility, these are the key issues that hardware startups are looking to solve across the continent, and they are clearly getting the biggest, the most investment in that space. Interesting from a data perspective, we see a deep tech number of $9 million. I think what's from a numbers and a statistics perspective, it'd be really interesting to make sure that as we go on and we need to delve into these numbers in more detail, we need to get a better understanding of or recording of what exactly a deep tech or a hardware startup is, and make sure that we understand exactly where those investments are going. So that's the total investment. We thought it'd be interesting to look at what's happening in West Africa. Again, not surprising, Nigeria dominating with almost $20 million. Benin, Ghana, not surprised on Ghana. I don't know Benin very well, so it is an interesting surprise. And Senegal, $31 million into 8 deals, but those were into solar infrastructure investment. So there's a clear lack of hardware innovation happening in the Senegalese area, and it probably goes to the question is, what do we do about it? We have a nascent hardware environment. We have lots of innovative companies. I think the lack of investment over the period or the shortage of investment over the period is not driven by the lack of innovation. It's driven by the lack of funding availability and the lack of ecosystem support for the companies that are working in that environment. So yeah, looking to see more support. I think Philip made a comment earlier about sector-specific support for these kinds of startups, and in order to provide an environment in which a hardware startup can succeed, you do need to provide that level of support. Where were we in 2022? So this number includes solar infrastructure and mega deals, and I think we did that just to demonstrate where we stand from the perspective of global VC, and that's a 0.35 percentage point of global VC going into African hardware, even with mega deals and solar infrastructure included. So we've got a long way to go, I believe. Decent growth rate from 2021. I think what is an important discussion point is what do we do about it? I don't know if anybody has any questions, any things to comment on? Have I run out of time already? No. All right. Is there any questions on this issue? Any insights?
Any question for Nick about hardware? I think that it's very critical to work around what we need to develop on hardware. So,
hi, thank you very much, Nick. It was very insightful. I will be happy to have a little bit more details on the health tech side, especially that you mentioned the clean tech. I do believe that health tech is still a hybrid, let's say, sector when sometimes you need capex, but also some, let's say, SaaS solutions. So we'll be happy if you can share your views about this sector.
The health tech sector. I think that given the fact that there's lots of health challenges on the continent, there are clearly lots of innovations. I think having a chat to somebody earlier about supply chain, cold chains for agricultural products, I think that that is just as relevant in the pharmaceutical space. So in it, we've seen innovation around providing cold chains in the pharmaceutical space. So without a doubt, there's lots of need, there's lots of opportunity. When there are challenges in an area, there are going to be needs and opportunities to develop capacity around those. We've invested in a number of hardware health tech opportunities in South Africa, and I'm pretty confident we're going to see plenty of those across the continent. There's no doubt.
Okay, so I want to know the type of hardware in the waste management sector that you do invest in. Is it like sensors on trucks or like on the baling machines? So I want to know which.
We'll invest in pretty much any hardware. So when Savant started, we had come out of an environment looking specifically at medical devices and biotech. And while we were working at that, in that environment, we saw a great deal more innovation going on in areas around that, and nobody serving that, nobody providing those innovators with the support that they needed to go to market. So we're open to investing and supporting any innovation that is solving a real problem with hardware innovation. We want to see differentiation. We want to see people solving real problems using their capability, capacity, and understanding to solve those problems. So if you've got a solution, we're very, very keen to see it.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. My name is Maxime. I'm a partner at SeedStars Africa Ventures. So we invest early pre-Series A, Series A, but we like to look at these models that have a little bit more hardware or capex. And one of the issues that we see is that, let's say the earlier stage VC scene is typically not very well suited, especially in Africa, to go on these types of models. And so where we've had success is to actually work with more traditional, let's say, infrastructure or private equity funds that had a bit more of an innovative view or envelope, let's say, to put in early stage deals with us or with others. And so I just want to get your view, I guess, for everyone also, the view of what is the interactions between the different types of investors that we have on the continent in filling this gap. Like, what can we do together with traditional private equity funds that can invest in factories, that can invest in much larger capex, and what is our role as VCs to help them do that?
Yeah, it's yeah, investing in hardware is always a long and a difficult journey. As we always say, hardware is hard. Well, I had that conversation at lunchtime, actually. And yeah, our job as early stage VCs, we invest pre-seed and seed. Our job is to de-risk these companies as much as possible, get them to a point where they've demonstrated unit economics that work, demonstrated that they have business models that work, and then try and ensure that they are introduced and we can partner with those funders that particularly can find that capex funding, those big pots of cash that they need to grow their hardware, because it is expensive. That the balance sheet always looks very, very tricky, in these businesses, because they need a lot of cash to grow. So yeah, our job is to go and partner with and find those financiers who have got innovative models to provide the kind of funding that these businesses need, and often it needs to be funding that is not dilutive, because otherwise everybody else that gets in gets diluted to nothing. I mean, ultimately it needs to be some level of interesting debt model, or otherwise a revenue-based funding. The likes of Jim Chu at Untapped Global got some interesting models that he's trying to push through to there. That I think there are people looking at innovative ways to fund hardware to allow these hardware businesses to scale, and it is it's up to us as VCs to ensure that we build the businesses to the point where they are able to raise the funding that they need to scale. So it's a concentration on unit economics at work, business models that work, teams that can scale these businesses, so that when we go and present these to other investors, that it looks and feels like something that they are confident to put their money into. Thanks for the question.
Thanks a lot, Nick. Thanks a lot for this very interesting keynote. Maybe a round of applause for Nick Allen. Thanks a lot. You can put it here. So I think that, definitely we need VCs to invest to make sure that also they are engaging themselves to bet on entrepreneurs, to bet on hardware, to bet on great solution very early, so that they can grow properly, and to bet on their scale. So thanks a lot, Alan, for this. Nick, sorry. And we are going to invite our startup in hardware for a pitching session. And I will invite you also need to come in the jury in front of me with Asim. And also I will be calling Esther from FMO for the pitching session on hardware. So, Nat is setting the jury. So Tahir, please. Nick. We lost Nick. Where is Nick? And also Esther Goronge from FMO. Nick is here. Nick is back. And Esther, we're waiting for Esther. And I'm just, as a reminder, we are going also to share a great moment this afternoon at the D-Hub for a VC night with the partner D-Hub, the DARE. I think that there is also still a lot of conversation to continue there. And I think, and I hope also a beginning of deal for some of you. So the first startup we are going to host for this pitching session on hardware will be ThinkBike. ThinkBike.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tolu Lokwe. I'm from Nigeria. I'm the CEO and co-founder of ThinkBikes. What we are trying to do is to provide affordable last-mile transportation for small businesses in Nigeria and across Africa. I will tell you the story of Ada. She's a smallholder farmer, and this is how she transports her tomatoes, vegetables. She's having a huge risk with a baby on her back, and I discovered that over 45 million small medium enterprise in Nigeria face this kind of problem. Adding the micro sector to it will be like 60 million in Nigeria alone. And I understand we have over 600 million smallholder farmers in Africa. So World Bank said that from the harvest, point of harvest to the nearest market, we lose 50% of our food annually, and it's blamed on transportation and other road infrastructures. And also, one of the problems is that we lack efficient last-mile transportation, and current solutions are responsible for so many deaths, carbon emission, air pollution, and the likes. What we are trying to do is make life simple. We are bringing a solution that fits into the culture of the people, that doesn't change so much, and we are manufacturing electric cargo bikes. Now the lady can transport her goods without any risk any further and at the lowest cost possible. 300 kg capacity, 50 kilometer. We are currently upgrading to 100 kilometer. We've had so much award locally and internationally. Now, this is the range of our product. One for immediate harvest, the other for logistic. This one has a refrigeration, and it can preserve food and anything, dairy product, vaccine, anything that needs to be preserved in a cold chain. And also, we have one for waste management. And all of it you don't have to buy. You can as well use rental model using our mobile app and the likes of it. Currently, our value proposition is that we are the lowest and the cost-effective means of transportation available to these small businesses. And with that, we are reducing capital investment by 70%. Because it's electric and it's bicycle, there is zero or low running costs and maintenance costs. And we also have a unit whereby they can use it to power their shops or small huts at a limited power range. And subsequent versions are coming up with solar panel, no license to ride. We started in Oyo State. We are currently in about 5 states in Nigeria. And by 2024, we want to go to other parts of Africa and subsequently globally. We have some competition, and the current competition are the gasoline, the trucks that are available. But one of the advantages we have above them is that we are able to go to remote areas, which they are not. We have our bike that is also using bicycles in institutions, and other international brands are yet to come into the country. Our model is simple. We are currently selling, and we are testing our pay-go model using IoT and mobile app. For lease, it's about $200 per month, and for sale, outrightly, it's $1,500. We have a target this year of about 1,200 of these bikes. We are currently in the second quarter, and we are growing gradually. Doing this will give us a profit of $450,000 at the end of this year. Currently, we have capacity, because we are manufacturing locally, for about 5 of these bikes per day. We've done over 50,000 the last 6 months, and we have so many potentials for inquiries every day. And we are currently testing our pay-go model, and we have orders from about 10 African countries currently. What we use is feedback system, referral programs, and as well as social media adverts. Now, our milestone, our impact, if we have 2,000 units of these bikes, we can do sufficiently over 100,000 and reduce over 100,000 tons of CO2, and also have direct impact in indirect impact in job opportunities, and also bring people out of food insecurity. Also, we pride ourselves as the lowest carbon footprint kind of company. We are in the third ladder. We want to start mass production for Africa. We have like 100 orders, 100 units of these bikes in Ghana we want to supply to. Also, some African countries like Kenya, Rwanda are also requesting. We are requesting for $1 million in raise. We've done a little bit in the first quarter. We will raise more going forward, and that will, fund our mass production. This is a team. I have 17 years of experience in automobile and mechatronics, and Israel, 5 years in embedded system, Sadiq, and the likes of it. Thank you for your time. We are trying to accelerate Africa to green transportation, and we are also empowering women and creating job opportunity. Thank you for your time.
Bravo. Thank you, Tolu. Thank you. I like that. So any question from the jury?
Thank you for the pitch. That was very good. Your market. How do you understand your market? How do you get to the numbers that you're looking at?
We have a government institution called SMEDAN, small and medium association something. I've forgotten. They have this data for us per state and per country, the number of small and medium enterprises that are registered under them. I know some are not captured yet, but based on those data, we're able to get our market. And for the global the global market is on electric bike generally.
And your innovation in terms of what you're doing differently to somebody who then just imports an electric bike and sells it. Where do you see your ability to build yourself a competitive advantage?
Yeah, currently we have others in the industry like Simba. Simba is the biggest Indian supplier of bicycles, and we've had a conversation where they cannot compete. It's actually the price. They are not manufacturing locally. They manufacture in India and import, and that brings the cost higher. And there's no incentive for them to manufacture locally anyways. We have poor infrastructure when it comes to electricity. We are adding local content, and we're able to reduce the cost price by 50%. If you are ordering our product from China right now, it's landed $3,000. And most people that have tried to do that find our bike product very affordable, and that's why we have so much attention. And we have a lot of other value-added services like vehicle to home kind of system. You are able to plug the bike to some power units for lighting and any other thing, charging your phone, and a whole lot of others. Then we're coming up with solar panel, so you don't need to charge your weight during the operational hours. The bike can charge as much as it's in the open window like that.
So how do you select your drivers? Then, what's the default rate on your leasing model? And how do you actually collect payments from these people? Because I noticed that there's quite a lot of rural pictures. Mm-hmm. So, is it mobile? Is it cash? Or?
We are currently testing, and part of the conversation we have with OnTap is that we should have data to present to them. So we are working with Teltonica, who is an IoT developer in Kenya, and we've got some of their IoT to embed on our system and begin to test. But before then, what we're doing is we have centers. You come in, meet one of our agents, and you can do that manually right now. And by the time we gather all this data, we're able to migrate to the IoT fully. And why we really need IoT is overuse is inevitable. And if we want the bike to be able to, recoup the money, the cost production, as well as some profit, we need to monitor it remotely where we are not there. So I have seen a lot of vehicles in Nigeria that they will stack up to the roof and still sit on the roof. It's a bicycle. If you do that, you will break it. And so we need to measure the weight in real time. Once you overload it, it cuts you off and notify you that you need to reduce the weight. All of this, we are guiding around it. We have GPS, we have the location, we figure the security part and all of that. So that's how we're doing it. And I've got a lot of questions about electricity in rural communities. We have an agency called Rural Electrification Agency, who are also bringing mini grids across these rural communities. And they even requested for us to put our bikes there under the POU, productive use of equipment. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I'll be in June in Nigeria. I can't wait to try them. So the next startup we are going to have on stage will be Seitu. Seitu. Thanks for encouraging him.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Abdullah Faye. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Chaitu. So Chaitu's vision is to create the future of work. We are enabling a global workforce of autonomous robot operators. Why do we do that? The main reason is we notice a geographical imbalance in the global labor market. And for example, in the West, what we have right now is the great resignation causing a lack of labor. On the other hand, in Africa, we have the youngest population in the world that lack opportunities. And unfortunately, immigration is not a solution for this. One of the solutions is automation, but deploying robots is still expensive, time-consuming, and requires a high level of expertise. Most of the SMEs don't have the money to get to automation. So what Chaitu is building right now is the first human-centric crowdsourced robotic platform that allows people from anywhere in the world to remotely teleoperate robots and offer services to businesses and individuals. How do we do that? We have a crowdsourced robot out-service platform. We have a pilot mobile app with low latency, and we also have a virtual training platform. Our web-based dashboard allows users to easily create tasks assigned to robots and manage deployment, analyze data too. Our mobile-based pilot interface makes teleoperation as easy, intuitive as can be. With just a mobile phone and connectivity, of course, anybody can be a Chaitu operator. We are also building a virtual environment where we deploy digital twins of our robot to enable operators to train on simulated real-life scenarios. We leverage AI to make the journey, the teleoperation journey, a collaborative one between human and robots. Our platform is actually designed to enable any type of application for any industries with the focus of accessibility and inclusion. We have an initial focus on autonomous delivery market. Here you have the first robot we built and deployed at BYU, one of our partner universities. Yeah, so here you can see the robot moving on campus, teleoperated from here, Senegal. From the mobile interface, you can see on the top. So these robots right now are delivering food to students on campus. So our robots are a combination of cost-effective design and top hardware and software platforms. We have a dedicated platform for delivery. We have an app for the student to be able to order food on campus. We have the dashboard that allow restaurants to monitor the orders and being able also to monitor the task and also the fleet of robots. And we have a selection of applications also for operators to be able to receive the teleoperation requests and securely connect to our pilot interface. We are currently enrolling our first operators. Here we can see on our website, we already have a good traction, and we are also considering leveraging our large Pan-African robotics competition and community. Why delivery? Because it's a huge market. We are talking about 60 million deliveries within 2 miles per day in the US. And we really believe that our model, our grassroots model, gives us a clear advantage on to scale, but also to offer lower cost, lower pricing than our competitors. With $199 per delivery, we can already operate with a favorable gross margins. We are impact-driven company that is looking to empower communities while having a great impact on our environment. So Chaitu is not just about delivery. We still work locally with industrial companies. So here you can see a robot we are currently building for Senegal, the main utility company here in Senegal. So we are partnering with great institutions, and we also partnering for building and then leveraging our platform. This is a team, so it's my co-founder and CEO, Sidi Ndao, and myself. We are a team of innovators with several experience in research and innovation, with a bench of advisors that are following us in this journey. These are our investors, Woody Venture.
Time is over,
Oh.
I'm sorry. Thanks a lot, bravo. So, some questions.
Quick question. So who's your customer? Who's your client in this model?
So in this model, our client are businesses that want automation, an alternative way of automating some of their services. For example, it's the restaurant that needs deliveries. It's the restaurant that needs customer services. We provide the robots, and we provide also operators that can take off the robot remotely to offer the service in a more cost-effective way.
So you're actually developing the robots yourself, or are you buying those, or?
Yeah, so right now we are building the robots, but our platform is also open to third-party hardware.
How long is this use case viable? I mean, with the advances in AI and computer vision and that planning, is a drone controlled remotely, is that a sustainable model?
Yeah, so the reason why we are focused on this is because when we talk about all the solutions of the competitor, most are going for fully autonomous robots. And this is where it's going, for sure. But still, there are supervisors. And there are room for failure. And when there is failure, you need someone to take over, an operator remotely. So we see ourselves in a future as the platform that will enable robot when needed to have access to human to take over whenever it's needed.
So it's a case of rather than somebody driving the car, driving the robot on a per use, it'll be a case of you oversee a number of UAVs or autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, exactly. And also it's important to note that when we are in a really challenging environment, the level of autonomy we can have right now is not the same that we would be able to freely have in the street, for example. And in this case, having the human in the loop type of AI is an advantage because it allows to easily deploy and scale, and also it allows to continuously improve using human input and data progressively to build better, let's say, models.
So why did you choose to do hospitality first and not go into a sector maybe where you could be saving lives, you know, mine shafts or preventing injury by going through agricultural sort of fields and that sort of thing? Why are you going to hospitality first?
So we needed a good use case to validate our model, and we showed the need, and we had the partners. We have US partners, US university partners, and we know that there is a market also on delivery. So on these campuses, there is a need that allow us to validate our model, but that allow us also to be able to continue to build the tech to make it usable for any industry. So that's exactly what we are doing right now in Senegal with Senelec.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Abdoulaye. Thanks, Seitu. Congratulations for this very deep work. So I'm gonna call Lola Green on stage for the next speech.
Hi, my name is Matimba. I am the founder of Lola Green, and I'm currently completing my master's in chemical engineering. And what you see on the screen are the sustainable development goals we positively contribute to with our innovation. So my father builds houses, and for the past 7 years, I've been working closely with him and seen that there's an increasing demand for green and sustainable construction products. Statistically, the construction material industry is responsible for at least 11% of the greenhouse gas emissions, and the sector plans to reduce these by 40% in the next 7 years. Lola Green uses plastic waste, glass waste, and industrial waste to manufacture durable construction products. We took both our roof tile and brick minimum viable products to the market to test our assumptions, and we are redesigning our roof tile as per the feedback received and the strong interest in bringing our bricks to the market at an early date. Our products are eco-friendly, durable, and can be made fire-resistant. This market is valued at over $19 billion, with a serviceable obtainable market at $2 billion, and we seek to tap into 1% of it. In the South African context, we are initially targeting eco-property developers as they continue to seek relevance in their field by switching to green and sustainable construction products, and this gives them access to benefits such as tax and rebate incentives, as well as a global green outlook. Our unique selling point is that we've got a quick lead time due to our significantly short production process, and this sets us apart from both our direct and indirect competitors. We use no cement and we use no water in our products, and in under 5 minutes you have your product ready for construction. We have a business-to-business revenue generating model. Waste plastics are sourced from waste pickers and packaging corporates, and production cost at 9 cents, and with a markup of 72%, our gross margin is at 56%, and we expect to break even in a year and a half. In terms of our projections, with a business projection of 25% yearly, we will net a profit of about $340,000 by 2026, with an assumption of smooth operations all throughout. We made our first minimum viable product in Jan 2022, and we've been doing plastic collections up to date, and we are in the process of testing our products with a local university in South Africa. And in case as soon as we get our funding, then we'll be ready to set operations soon. We've also started building our first house in south of Johannesburg to showcase our solution. Up in 2022, we've received grants that summed up to $13,000 from local pitches, as well as being part of the United Nations Clean Tech Innovation Program, and that helped us in refining our business model. Please meet the diverse skilled Lola Green team. I've got 5 years chemical manufacturing experience, and we have Disebo with 3 years marketing and sales, and Ben with over 35 years construction experience, Petunia with both engineering and contracts negotiation. We need almost $200,000, and this will go for our CAPEX and OPEX to get our business off the ground. At Lola Green, we convert waste into sustainable solutions.
Thank you. And you can see a sample here. I was afraid he was going to do something bad with that, but it is really great.
Thank you.
So,
great presentation. I was just looking at your projections are quite interesting, because it looks like your model is you want to manufacture and sell the bricks. So my question is, do you have a level of IP protection that will allow you maybe to flip that model where you can start licensing that, and other people can actually carry, the burden of manufacturing and distribution? You just sort of rake in the revenue.
Yeah, thanks for that question. And that has been literally our challenge, because when we spoke with the IP specialists, there's quite a lot of costs involved in that, and that becomes an issue. Secondly, we also got to interact with other fellow entrepreneurs with brilliant concepts, IP protected, but there's issues with entry to the market. So our approach now, we still need help with that, to be honest, but we want to approach with speed, make as much, sell, make money, and be at a better place, something like that. Thanks.
How do you scale this business? How do you get the quality supply of your raw materials to scale this business properly?
So regarding that, the industrial waste is in abundance. We are capitalizing on the industries in the Val that are active, your ArcelorMittal, your Sasol, around there. So regarding the plastics, there's also quite a huge collection happening in Johannesburg. So we are currently forming partnerships so that we can have the influx into our area. So in terms of sourcing raw materials, we doing the business to our business, basically. So there is consistency, and currently the local scenario is unable to absorb all the waste into using to other things, so it's being exported. So there is a chance of that coming to us. So that's how we've secured our consistent supply of waste.
My question is on, once you have the funding, how much volume can you actually then deploy in the market in a year or 6 months for you to achieve that flood into the market approach that you're taking?
So We are working on a baseline of almost 3 million bricks a year. So dividing that into 12, obviously monthly, yeah. So that's, yeah, that's our baseline at the moment.
Is there not a differentiated revenue stream here, considering that you're selling a green brick?
There is actually. So that we will explore in the secondary phase of our business, if that makes sense, because we want to firstly manufacture and sell and then tap into the other ones. Like we've been told, we could look into the plastic credits, the carbon credits, you know. So those are the things we're looking into getting the extra revenue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. And now the next one will be Limawa on stage. You can go ahead.
Imagine investing your entire saving into a business, and you work really hard for 3 long months expecting a decent return in your investment. But then you lose everything overnight due to a problem that has the solution. You know the solution exists, but you just don't have access to it. Sadly, this is what our hard-working smallholder farmers in Africa go through. Every year, 50% of the food we harvest in the continent is wasted, and the majority of that doesn't even reach market. This cold storage scarcity is due to the lack of cold chain infrastructure, the high fuel and maintenance costs of this equipment, and the lack of technological innovation in the sector, which forces us to import everything, which makes Africa's cold chain logistic 9 times more expensive than anywhere else on the planet. Ultimately, farmers lose over 25% of their income, but they're not the only losers. Crop spoilage leaves 300 million Africans starving every year. At Limawa, we are on a mission to alleviate post-harvest losses using Africa's most abundant and free resource, sunlight. We provide solar-powered refrigerated vehicles that transforms the way food is preserved and transported. Our solar-powered cooling units can be installed in vehicles of all sizes, from large trucks down to small tricycles. They can run for up to 48 hours without sunlight, even when the vehicle's engine is dead, which makes our solar-powered refrigerated vehicle usable as fixed cold storage when the car is parked and the engine off. Our software solution allowed clients to keep the temperature, humidity, and position of their fresh merchandise by second, keeping their produces fresh at all times. Africa Tech's Startup Bootcamp AfriTech gave us an incredible opportunity to transform our business model. From simply building coolers for clients, today, Limawa makes revenue through short and long-term rental model. Our short-term rental platform is like Uber for cold chain logistics. We charge by distance and rent vehicle on demand while providing a marketplace for drivers to rent their idle asset. We also make recurring revenue by renting solar vehicles to farmers and FMCGs on a contract basis where we get paid monthly. By using Limawa to prevent spoilage, cut out middlemen, and access market, our farmers have managed to double their income. And in just 2 months of being in the cohort of Startup Bootcamp, we're able to launch a pilot with Auchan, which will generate $90,000 of revenue this year only. And after successfully reducing Auchan's cost of cold storage transport by 300%, Auchan is willing to scale this pilot to 4 times bigger before the end of the year, which means $360,000 before the end of this year, with just 1 client under our new business model. And there's plenty of room to grow, because cold chain market in Middle East and Africa was estimated at 23 billion in 2022 and is expected to grow to 35 billion in the next 5 years. We are currently finalizing agreement with Senegal's biggest manufacturer of dairy product and Cote d'Ivoire's biggest retailer. and are launching a pilot project with the Ministry of Agriculture of Senegal to give access to our solution to over 1,000 farmers in the community of Fasboy. We are a young and dedicated AfricArena team from different backgrounds and from all over Africa. Our IT director, Mamadou Koulibaly, a great programmer from the Silicon Valley, is from Mali. Pierre-Emmanuel Soumaro, a passionate about finance, graduated from the biggest business school in Europe, is from Côte d'Ivoire, and I am from Senegal. I'm a mechanical engineer specialized in agriculture with mechanization. A quick image of the product, what it looks like, the solar vehicles, the trailers. And we're currently raising $500,000 to increase our fleet of tricycle and make our pay-as-you-go rental model accessible to over 5,000 farmers in Senegal. And join us to ensure that every piece of produce arrives at its final destination fresh, ensuring that farmers increase their revenue, reducing food waste, and feeding millions and millions around Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. I also say yes to fresh vegetable. So some questions?
Just your testing. Question on your customer, like your typical or your ideal customer, because I saw the three-wheeler, and then I saw the big trucks as well.
Yeah.
And you mentioned farmers.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure, is your customer only farmer to business, or is it also cold storage facility to end retailer, or what does it look like?
At first, we used to only sell these coolers. That's why we had to do trailers for clients, big trucks, small trucks, tricycles. Now, with this rental model, the main target is the farmers. Basically, with our vehicles, the farmer can use the same vehicles to store their produce on the farm and use the same truck to transport their produce. Why we're able to do that is because our refrigeration unit work independently from the truck's engine. So when the truck's engine is off, the unit is on and is being run by solar. So we collect the product and help them access market directly. Prior to that, they had to depend on the buyers who would come to them and pay them very low prices because they didn't have the access to the market. And the huge problem we have in Senegal is sometimes we produce the same produce, we harvest the same produce at the same time. Let's say there is a bunch of tomatoes in the market in Dakar and there is none in Touba, for example. But farmers don't have that information. So we're actually helping them and telling them, okay, let us conserve your product. Instead of rushing, let us keep it safe and take it to a market where the need is there, instead of rushing all to the same place.
Two questions. So the first one is on the corporate customers. What is stopping them from just getting one of those and buying it and have to pay the subscription fee?
Yes. Okay, I think it's part of the company's policies, right? A company like Auchan doesn't own any assets, right? They delegate everything that has to logistics with companies. But for this specific product, which is like the cheese product and pastries, it's small quantities product, right? And they didn't want to take a large truck to transport small quantities. And that's the problem we have locally. And that's why small and medium enterprises locally don't use cold chain logistics, because prior to these recycles, they don't have a need that fit like the 300 kilograms they need to transport. So with Auchan needed us to transport 300 kilograms per day, they rather choose us and use our service instead of renting a big truck. The tricycle was a perfect fit for that. And we respect their company policies of not owning any assets.
So do you provide both the cold storage mechanism and the vehicle, or just the cold storage and the farmer has to get the vehicle themselves?
We provide everything. For the case of the farmer, we provide everything. And they just have to pay as the model as you pay as you go. So the truck is parked. You just have to pay 200 CFA, basically $50, to store your product for 2-3 days. Then we take it to market, and you can sell your product at a better price. And we play on that margin to make our revenue.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Bravo. Merci beaucoup. Young and dedicated team. So let's welcome on stage Safe Track. Safe Track. Perfect.
Hello everyone, Safe Track here. So Did you know that African farmers produce less food than they did 30 years ago, despite using 4 times more land? This is due to outdated farming practices, climate change, and the lack of actionable data. An example, Senegal produces 3 tons per hectare yielded for fodder maize, while France produces 13.5 tons per hectare. This is 5 times more. Farmers in Morocco, Senegal, and across Africa are struggling to cultivate their land due to unpredictable weather conditions, depleted soil, lack of data, and access to water. Morocco is living its worst drought in 40 years as we speak. So SafeTrack, we help farmers overcome these challenges and improve their livelihoods through technology. Namely, our smart data loggers help farmers make data-driven decisions to optimize resources and improve crop productivity without internet access. So access to information like temperature, humidity, wind speed, direction, and all kinds of information needed to improve production and reduce water cost. How we do it? In fact, we augment these communication devices. These are LoRaWAN gateways. We augment them with onboard edge computing capabilities to be able to provide the necessary information without internet access. Our revenue model is based on a selling price of around $900 per kit, which is, in fact, if you look at all the information provided, is up to 5 times cheaper than our competitors, and an annual subscription fee of $300. This is per farm. Currently, we are on a commercial trial or commercial pilot with Danone, and right now it's showing an increase of 20% in productivity and 30% of reduced water consumption. The way it works is that Danone is the largest berry purchaser in Morocco. It works with small farms, and it is in fact required to reduce their environmental impact and also to have traceability of the products coming from the small farmers. The precision agriculture market in the Middle East and Africa is estimated was estimated at 1 billion. It will estimate at 1 billion in 2024 with a 12% growth rate approximately. Currently, we are working with Danone in Morocco and Crédit Agricole du Maroc. They put us on their on some of their application solutions, and also with the Ministry of Agriculture in Senegal, and with Paysan, which is one of the largest cooperatives that is responsible for 80% carrot production in Senegal. Our product is scalable because, in fact, we are in the IoT business. We are in the affordable, decentralized IoT business. So we have already pilots for smart city parking, crowd management, smart water and environment, as well as smart industry 4.0. This is still at the pilot stage, but it is part of our scalability potential. Our team is really Pan-African. Me, Maher, Tiano is here. Anselme is in Côte d'Ivoire, Karim is Moroccan as well, and we do have, complementary expertise across AI, IoT, programming, and electromechanical engineering. We are aiming, in order to really expand into the full potential of our IoT solutions, we are aiming to secure a $2 million seed funding, because this will allow us really to operate a real revolution in the IoT industry in Africa. Please join us and let's help Africa fulfill its potential to feed ourselves and feed the world. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you, Maya. Thank you.
You're competing on price, is that what you're saying?
We are competing on prices as well. Yes, with the competitors in Morocco, we noticed that through our integrated offer, we are very competitive on price-wise, because we integrate different. Tiano, can you show the small sensor with the different plugs? Yes, we integrate different technologies in one device, which allows us to be very competitive on price. hardware price.
Does that not lead to your competitor reducing their pricing? I mean, how do you make sure that your customer is sticky?
Well, in fact, the price is definitely very important for the farmers, but it's not the only thing. I mean, by optimizing our production, by optimizing our offer, we are sure that we offer better technology, we offer something that is not there yet in the market, but at an affordable price, because no matter how we do, if the pricing is not right, then this will not work. So for example, we combine weather station with soil sensors, everything in one device. I hope, Tiano, if you can show for example, yeah.
While we're putting that out, you charge $300 a year on a software subscription service.
Yes.
How many farms do you need to get onto your system to be sustainable?
Starting with 100.
100 farms. Okay. And your progress on that?
Our progress right now is we are at around 50. Yeah, I mean, this is what I was saying. This contains 6 plugs. And so we can combine multiple sensors. I mean, it's not one sensor, one thing. I mean, we really have multiple sensors. This is why I said we are in the IoT business. It can be like crowd management solution for, I mean, if it's necessary. But so we are providing this solution that really can combine and have a synergy between different, hardware offers.
My question is on your scalability approach.
Yes.
I'm seeing different segments. Aren't you concerned about mission drift? Shouldn't you just concentrate in one segment and just improve upon that?
Look, we are first and foremost, we are working towards democratizing access to these things. So it's IoT that is affordable. Of course, the people, I mean, agriculture is of paramount importance. This is in Morocco, agriculture consumes up to 80% of the Moroccan water resources. So without any doubt, this is the first thing we are working on. This is a matter of survival for us. But definitely, we work on affordable and IoT for everyone through these edge computing capabilities that we are the first ones or only ones to offer right now.
So in short, your solution is a communication solution to which you can add the sensor that's of interest.
Yes. So we make both the gateways and the device. That's where you can add the different sensors. Yes, that's what we manufacture.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for this amazing presentation. Very interesting. Sorry. So I think that's it for this pitching session on hardware. Thanks a lot, Savan, for supporting this pitching session. And I invite you to go back and continue networking and continue learning about this amazing and very interesting product in hardware. Thanks a lot. See you. And don't forget also to continue the conversation tonight at the DIUB. We have a VC night, so continue and come to share some drink and food and continue having some pre-deal and maybe some deals tonight. So our next speaker, Ben, I was looking at him, he said, "Who is looking at me?" I said, "Me." So our next speaker is going to talk about how to achieve ecosystem maturity in West Africa versus the rest of Africa. I think that this is very interesting because as we see how Africa is growing, how our ecosystem, how innovation is spreading around the continent, it's interesting to see how West Africa is doing. So welcome on stage, Ben, to guide us into this topic.
Bonjour Dakar. Langalef. Merci, ça va. Non, j'ai pas de présentation, je vais faire ça sans présentation. Et en anglais, of course, for those of you who can't speak French. It's a pleasure to be here, as usual, every year in Dakar with AfricArena, with all the sponsors, and try to share as much as I can. Once again, I'm Ben, I'm one of the founders at Briga. I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years now, so before jumping on the dark side of the tech world, I was like you guys, building companies, and I've spent the last few years trying to share my experience and my scars and my stories around what is needed to build amazing companies and to help ecosystem thrive and grow. And so the theme for today, and you know, I'm going to have a brief presentation and then give you the mic, is around what is needed for ecosystems in general to get to maturity, and what in particular here in Western Africa. Ecosystems are complex, like anything in nature, you know, anything with biodiversity. You have different people around the table, state, government, corporates, universities, startups, obviously, VCs, LPs, because, you know, you should keep in mind that VCs have their own investors, right? They need to raise money to be able to invest. And all of that together needs to be aligned for it to thrive. And so what we're trying to achieve here in Africa, and especially Western Africa, is to sort of leapfrog the time it took for the US to become the ecosystem it is. Let's not be fooled. It took 70 years for the US to become the tech ecosystem they are, right? At the beginning, there was nothing. It was just World War II, government pouring money into universities to create innovation around, unfortunately, weapons. And out of that, you had the first telecommunication advances, then you had microprocessors, and the whole big wave of technology was actually financed by government before the private market got interested and finally backed the whole thing. So you needed to align all these stars, and why Silicon Valley became one of the references in the world. And more than Silicon Valley, I think it's the whole region around San Fran, is that you have loads of amazing universities, Stanford, Berkeley, all the rest down to US, you know, UCLA, UCSD, all these guys. You have capital. I mean, you know, if California was a state, I think it would be the 6th or 7th biggest economy in the world. So, you know, it gives you an idea of the power, the machine, you know, these guys have behind them. And you know, and it took a while to get there. So what can we learn from that? Well, we need to learn that, you know, to get an ecosystem working, you need talent, right? I think talent is key, because companies are made of people, even more so in a world which is digital, right? It's software and people, basically. So talent. And if you look at, you know, where we're at in Western Africa, you know, the level of education locally is just booming, right? I was chatting with a friend yesterday. He said, like, you know, you struggle recruiting engineers all across the world. There's an immense, you know, depth of talent here, right? So that's amazing. That's something you need for sure. Then you need that entrepreneurial mindset. And, you know, if there's one continent in the world where there's always been, you know, entrepreneurs, people, you know, trying to build their own activity to survive, is Africa. So definitely something to be done here. And then, you know, you need clients, so people able to pay, right? That's where it gets tricky here, because, you know, there's not a lot of big corporates on the continent. Whereas, you know, in the US, there's a long history of local companies. So that piece is tricky, right? So that's where you need to adapt to the market you're in and find who's going to be able to pay for your product, whether it's people from outside the continent or people from inside the continent, because you're really solving an issue they're happy to pay for, right? And then if we look at the amazing opportunity, and, you know, having spent quite a long time in the European ecosystem, London was at the forefront of tech in Europe because they had a strong link with the US. So getting that expertise, getting that level of exposure to tech from the US in the UK, because they speak English, because it's a closer culture, accelerated the ecosystem there. And I think the amazing ability here is between, France and Canada. There's two sort of Northern American, European ecosystems who have gone through the complexity of growing, where you can have repats and or people, immigrating and sharing these views, which can accelerate the level of maturity of the ecosystem. And then last but not least, you need funding, right? And that's why we're here, that's why we're pushing. I heard earlier today that, we know it's hard to fundraise, it's even harder to fundraise early stage. So we need to encourage all of the potential LPs. In the Western world, it's mainly governments. Here in Africa, governments have other fishes to fry. So we need to be able to push, all the DFIs, all the private money out there that, it needs to be funded. The ecosystem here needs cash to solve the issues of the continent. And what a better playground for entrepreneurs when you think of the natural growth of Africa. And looking at, ultimately what's going on in Europe, in the US, in Japan, in China, population is decreasing. People already have 3 cars, 2 TVs, 3 washing machines. They can't grow more, right? Whereas on the other end, Africa is going to see an extra 1 billion people in the next 40 years. So if you keep that in mind, all the basics of, housing and schooling and feeding and health and paying, all of that is a need, is a basic need for the ecosystem, and people really need to solve these problems and issues longer term. So to me, it's just an incredible opportunity. Yes, we've seen a lot of advancement in the English-speaking world on the continent for very simple reasons. 3 of them, basically. A, because they speak English, they can tap into a much bigger market in terms of funding. And you all know that a lot of companies were funded in Nigeria or in Kenya with US money, natural bridges. B, they are much bigger markets. Nigeria is a beast, Kenya, not so big, but they've had mobile payment before anyone, so the digital economy was way easier to work. And then talent and repats, right? So people coming back. So for Western Africa, and especially French-speaking Africa, I think that is key, making sure we can get money from outside, we can get talent to come back. And then in terms of market size, we have to grow fast, right? So we all need to work on the playbook of going through Francophone Africa. And that's a playbook at Briga we've built with a lot of companies in Europe to actually go across Europe. And then, make it a big market. So between the francs and the legislation, if a constellation of 20 to 40 million people market becomes one big market of 300 million people, which is going to double in the next, 20 years, then it's as big as the US. So then you can look at yourself and be like, hey, I can create a unicorn in French-speaking Africa if I apply the playbook and go international quickly, right? So use your own market to test and learn on your solution, and then you should think big, because the startup game, it's a size game, right? So these are my tips for you guys, or at least ideas for maturity. But obviously, happy to take questions and answer any of them.
Thanks a lot, Ben. Thanks a lot. You can ask. You definitely can ask.
So thank you very much. That was a great speech. I noticed in your speech you mentioned some interesting stuff, like when you say how Silicon Valley was built around this, the university, like the source of knowledge creation. And when you talk about Africa, West Africa, and you also mentioned the comparison between the growth in China, in India, which is likely to slow down in the next decades, and you being optimistic about Africa. But how do you feel when, like right now, we are in West Africa, and we sit talking about Africa, like the perspective, like when you are in the US, maybe, Africa is one, right? But when we are here, actually that Africa doesn't exist. How do you feel about that?
I know. That's why, you know, if you're from Dakar, or if you're from Côte d'Ivoire, or if I'm from Western Africa, you need to create that opportunity. I mean, you know, and this opportunity exists. You need to think out of the box, out of your country, and use your country as a first go-to market, and then come out. There's a couple of very good examples in the world of small countries that have proven a play. I mean, Israel is one of them, Sweden is one of them. I mean, you know, these guys created unicorns, but they come from tiny countries. What they did is they used their local country to test and learn and prove their solution, and then they went big, right? They went to the big market, usually the US. Here in Western Africa, there's a big francophone, you know, arm, as I said, with the same language, a fairly similar legal framework, the same currency. So it's actually even easier than going across Europe when you want to grow a business. So starting building that mentality of, you know, I'm not a Senegalese company, I'm a Senegalese-based company, but I'm a francophone African business. I think this should be the key for Western Africa to thrive going forward.
Thanks.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for that speech. I have a question more maybe from a startup perspective. Do you recall what was your biggest challenge when you were a startup? Maybe so that way we can all kind of relate, and how did you overcome it? Or maybe one of the top ones.
Tough. Yeah, there's a lot of them, actually. And it's the same for every business, basically. I don't think it's a startup thing. I think it's a business thing, right? When you start a small business, you're fighting for customers. And this is hard because you don't have credibility yet. You need to convince people. So you need that kind of sales drive to convince your first check in. People in HR, talent, definitely, once again, because, you know, maybe Orange or Capgemini or whoever is going to sign a bigger check at the end of the month. So making sure you can convince people to jump on the bandwagon and go with you to reach for the moon is a tough one, always a tough one. And people, you know, they're actually the heart and the value into companies and into startups, but they can also be the problem, right? So laying the foundation, stating the obvious, putting down the culture you want to build in your company on paper, making sure that your first hires really believe into what you want to do and how you want to do it. I think that's key, because the vast majority of companies I see fail, they actually fail because of that, right? They fail because they grow fast, they try to put people on top of each other, and then they realize there's no sense of working together. So that's key. And then access to funding. I mean, access to funding is hard. It's hard at every level. I mean, you know, if we talk about startups now, it's tough. If you look at, you know, VCs now, it's tough. There was an article in the media 2 days ago about zombie VC, right? Because what's happening now in the startup scene is the same in the value chain further up, right? Some VCs aren't able to fundraise. So, you know, you're going to have a 1 to 1.5 dry year of no funding raised by VC, which is going to impact startups later down the track. So don't think it's easy for VCs either. You know, money doesn't grow on trees. And it's that sort of complexity. So sales, convincing, credibility, people, and funding, I think, you know, these are the toughest one. And that's why you need to be agile and scrappy, right? Because funding and sales usually work together. And when you can't get funding, well, you can get revenue from clients if you're a bit smart.
Since she took the mic, I taken advantage of it to ask you a quick question. So we're basically in the business of innovation, and we want to stay one step ahead of the curve. And you were giving us a history lesson on how the digital world evolved. And one thing that's interesting is it always evolves in ways that are not planned by the politics or the religions. You know, you were giving the example of the US and UK. But then, you know, you have US going into Brazil, you know, connections between Hong Kong and Australia. So you probably find yourself in situations where you're helping a startup in Africa, in Kenya, work with somebody in Dubai. You know, different religion, different style of life, different food, but then you have to make it work. Today we have AI, is changing the game again. So how do you prepare us for seizing that opportunity?
How do I prepare you? Well, that's a tough one. No, these conferences, I mean, you know, being open to the world, I mean, understanding that business can be made, and business has been made for years between people who couldn't even speak the same language. I mean, you know, we find it hard today, but we can fucking speak English and jump on a flight. You know, imagine back in the day where Chinese people were trying to sell silk to the Turks in Istanbul with camels across the desert, right? It was a fucking different world. So we find it hard, it was way harder, right? So let's look at the glass half full. And, you know, we have an immense opportunity. I mean, you know, the world is ours. Now we can video conference, speak English, travel, exchange, pay. We just need to be open-minded and try to put ourselves into the shoes of someone else. And that's the classic, basic sales exercise, right? What does these people need, and how can I solve this for them? And then, you know, even if you don't speak the language, people will buy of you.
Maybe seek that unconventional route every time.
Sorry?
Seek that unconventional route.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, being differentiated. I mean, if you're differentiated, if you have, once again, silk in China that no one has in Europe, you know, everyone wants it. You know, same with spices back in the day. I think it's something brutal, different that people actually want. They'll buy it off you, right? So differentiation, to me, is key in anything you do, right? I hate the low-cost business. That's bullshit. You know? That's the worst idea ever. You want to create something that really solves your customer's problem, and maybe you do it at different cost, potentially, but it's not a low cost. It's just like you solve an issue to someone who has a real pain in the neck and needs to find a way, right? And if you find a way for them, whatever the language, whatever the currency, they'll buy it off you.
Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Ben. Very, very interesting. There's still a lot of interesting things to be shared tonight at the DHub. Thanks a lot for this, and I think that also the giveaway I'm taking from this keynote is that just find the right product, the right services for the right customer, and you're good. Thanks a lot, Ben, for this. And we are about to go for the last round of pitching with the Africa Rise program. So the first startup we are going to host on stage will be Tumai. So I'm going to call Tumai to get ready. And also, let's welcome our jury. Thomas Hart, please, project manager at FC80 Labs. Mr. Michael Moutier, you told me that yes, it's correct. Michael Moutier, perfect. Investment at Launch Africa, and Nivesh Patel, investment manager at Norskin 22. Thanks for being the jury and listening carefully for this startup on the Africa Rise program. So the first one, Tumai. Do we have Tumai in the room? Welcome on stage. Are you ready? Always. Good luck.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on stage here. So I will be presenting Tumai, which is the first data analytics platform for international corporates and investors in Africa. We measure opportunity, risk, and impact. So obviously, Africa is a very attractive continent for a lot of international investors. We know that the European Union is enrolling its new program with $150 billion of investment by 2030 in Africa, which includes the digital transformation of the economy. But obviously, the main concern, or at least a very important concern for international investors and corporates, is to really understand what is going on the ground. What does this mean? It means that in order to understand the risks, the opportunities, the impact that you're having on the continent, you want access to granular field data. You want consumer insights, which are often expressed in local languages. And obviously, as an international investor and corporate, you're often exposed to US and EU reporting regulations, which are growing, including in the ESG sector. What does Tumai propose? Through its platform, Tumai does two important things. Firstly, we source local data through both alternative data, such as social media data, so we can scrape social media in order to draw insights. But we also have a field data collection application, which I'll briefly present. We then analyze this. We've actually modeled African languages through AI, through NLP. So we're able to automatically understand Arabic dialects from North Africa, Wolof, and other dialects in West and East Africa as well. And we transform this into KPIs. So our field collection survey is essentially an application where anyone can download and be rewarded for essentially going to the target population, recording their input on various questions which a customer might want. And this voice data is automatically analyzed by our AI, thanks to speech-to-text capabilities and NLP. And then it essentially looks like a dashboard that the customer has access to with actionable KPIs. So we have an international Pan-African team, very talented. And yeah, we've already secured 100,000 in revenue last year. And by next round, we're looking at being at around 100,000 monthly recurring revenue with our customers. And we already work with some Pan-African banks and international investors. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Youssef. Thanks. Thanks, Youssef. Right on time. Perfect. So some questions from the jury.
Thanks, Youssef. Great presentation. It'll be good to understand a little bit more about what KPI data and actionable insights you provide. I think obviously access to the data is important, but more important is what predictive analytics, what actionable insights you can probably provide to your customers.
Yeah, so the first thing we've actually started working on is all of the KPIs around customer satisfaction. NPS, CES. Essentially what we do is that we automate the entire process from the call center all the way to the dashboard for customer satisfaction teams. This is already deployed with Attijari Wafa Bank in Morocco. Another thing that we're working on here in Dakar is the measurement of social acceptability of infrastructure projects. So with the BRT, which is being built, we're actually commissioned to both scrape social media and deploy our field collection data in order to understand what the baseline for acceptability was before BRT, so essentially taxis, global satisfaction around mobility, and then how this BRT had essentially some sort of impact on the community, so that's users, but also neighbors. So there's going to be some positive and some negative, and it will allow the company to really monitor what's going on the ground.
Thank you for your presentation. A question on your revenue. You mentioned you tracked 100,000, and I'm guessing that's gross over 2022. So how do you make money, and how do you plan to grow your recurring revenue to the figure you just shared in 2023?
Yeah, so effectively 100,000 was last year. Our strategy for penetrating the market across Africa is to essentially be the reference actor for these big corporates and big investors. So typically in Dakar, the BRT, the main investor is Meridian. Once we're with them, then we can deploy throughout all their different projects in Africa because they were a trusted partner. So it's through repeat playing, essentially.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for this great presentation. And now let's welcome Hidberg on stage.
Hi, good afternoon. I know we've been here the whole day. We're a little bit tired, but hopefully I can capture your imagination with what we're doing here. My name is Miriam McCarthy, and I'm here to talk about Hidberg. We are the workforce as a service company. We're based in Ghana, and I just want to talk to you a little bit more about the services that we provide. So our post-COVID world shows that we can live and thrive in a remote work environment. So 34 to 40% of remote work employees are more productive. Absenteeism has decreased because you're home. Where are you going to go? And 44% of employees are choosing to hire employees from different countries. So outsourcing. Demand for technical skills-based talent is on the rise. Africa has the numbers to fill this gap in the market. The global IT market is estimated at $870 billion by 2027, and we want to just capture just a small percentage of that. So why outsourcing? It's more efficient utilization of talent, lots and lots of graduates who can fill this role, very knowledgeable, excellent, efficient workers that can fulfill this role. It's easy and flexible. You can scale your remote working team, and so we provide that service. Why Africa? Like I said, high caliber talent, but also competitive pricing. The time zone optimization is also a factor when you're working with companies in Europe, as well as the language diversity. You have French, you have Arabic. Why not take advantage of that? So these are the prominent players in the emerging markets. What do you see in Africa? Nothing stands out, right? So we are trying to make a stand in Africa, to be the workforce that companies, global companies, can come to us as the remote work outsourcing company. So, this Hidberg. We're based in Ghana. We're a remote workforce company. We support entrepreneurs, startups, international organizations across sectors. So we work in data analytics, so maybe we can speak later. We're establishing ourselves as a business insight using cutting-edge AI technologies, which is very popular right now. So this is something that we're offering as a service for our clients. We also are heavily involved in software development. This is our strength. We have an excellent team who develop in-house applications for our clients. Our three key offerings: analytics, consulting, development.
I'm sorry, Miriam.
Not a
Maybe you
problem.
can continue with the question.
Right.
With a question from the jury.
Hi.
Thanks so much for your presentation. Really good. I think there's no doubt that there's demand for high quality technical IT skills around the world, and I think what your problem you're solving is very clear. Maybe you can help us understand the supply side. So how do you find the workforce that's appropriately skilled? and what's in it for them on the supply side? Why would they join your business to work as an outsourced consultant versus working remotely from Accra for Meta or any other business that they could?
Okay, so we provide a full suite service. So our talents are, all the talents on the team have master's degree. They're excellent professionals. And what we provide is the flexibility for them to choose what time they work, earning top dollar for their time. So this is a service that we think we can provide. We know we can provide for companies such as the Amazons and Google. Instead of them going to the Philippines, they come to us. We have the numbers. We want our graduates to be in work, and so why not support that industry by providing the service?
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
On the slide, in terms of the players that are incumbent on the market, I noticed you didn't include some on the African continent. So I just wanted to know more in comparison to the likes of ALX, which is under the African Leadership Group, or the Andelas or Moringas, who are also focusing on building tech talent and now are increasingly focusing on ensuring that the talent gets work remotely, as opposed to initially where they were trying to fix the talent in the market physically. How does your venture compare to these players solving for the same problem on the continent?
Perfect. So a key difference in our company is that we are not looking to be the Fiverr of Africa. What we do is provide executive support for companies and executives. So when they come to us, they get in high-level talent. So imagine you're an executive and you need someone to do some data research and write a white paper for you. We can do that. We can go in the field, collect the data, analyze it, and produce a report that you can use in board meetings or whatever. So we're talking high-level talent that you can use across your business.
Thanks a lot, Miriam. Thanks a lot for this great presentation. And now, thanks a lot. Thank you. So now let's welcome Digital Farmer. Can you share why are you laughing? What is so funny? I think that he can find by himself. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, set. So welcome, Digital Farmer. Thanks.
Hello everyone, I'm glad to be here. I'm Novali Wedi from Benin, and I'm here to talk to you about our solution. In Africa, most of our food comes from small producers. They feed Africa, but they still live with few revenue. It is not normal, so we decide to aim them to resolve this situation. We start with a digital platform which help producers to connect them to the final consumer, like families, retail, or B2B like restaurant, supermarket, and so on and so forth. It is not so bad. It works really. We help them to increase their revenue. And this year, we decide to do more, okay? So now we are working on our solution, a complete integral solution which can help producer from production to access to market. So we are developing an application, mobile application, who can be connected to a device, and with the application, they can control the irrigation, to plan irrigation, and to use correctly natural resources like water, like income. And the application can send them the advice for a good production, and they still connect to our marketplace, and then they can sell their production. Okay. And this solution is now is testing on test at Benin, and we want to do it in this country. Okay. And to do it, we needed to have assistance to have investment. This is our team, composed by me. I'm a manager. I have a data scientist, ITC manager, logistic manager, and agribusiness engineer. So let's work together to develop agriculture in Africa. Thank you.
Bravo. Thanks a lot, Navali. Thanks. So now I think someone needs some questions. Private joke.
Also, thank you very much for the presentation. Agriculture tech is becoming quite a popular sector now, with a lot of investment across Africa. What sets you apart in terms of the competition in the market there? What's your one key value proposition that sets you apart from other competitors out there?
Our unique value proposition?
Yeah, what's your key that sets you apart from other competitors?
The difference between us and our competitor, okay, is the particularity of our solution, who is very complete. We assist producer from production. We help them to produce quality of product, to use to control the cost of production, to reduce the cost of the production, and to sell directly to final consumer like B2C and B2B, and then they can have a equitable revenue. Okay, and so this solution is really complete. Okay, all they can need to make a precision in the agriculture, in the farming, they can find it by using this solution.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Aside the capital need you have right now to power growth for the business, what would you say is one or two of the main challenges you're dealing with as a business, especially given that you're trying to solve and work with the farmer from production all the way to sales to the end customer?
Okay. The challenge is to make promotion to this solution. We have to go to the farmers to explain them how it works, and to make a demonstration. I'm here with the market of device and application, so I can show you what it will work. And it is by this way we have to convince producer. And for producer, there are many people, and they are far from the cities. So we need to have an investment from logistics to go to visit them, to make a sensibilization session, to explain them how they can use a technological solution. This is one of our challenges.
Thanks a lot.
I don't know if I understand it. Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Very impressive. Congratulations, Navali. Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you.
And our last startup for this AfricArena tour in Dakar will be Lengo. Do I have Lengo in the room? Yeah. I was looking at you, I was like, where is Lengo? Where is the, I was like, he's in the room, okay. So welcome on stage.
Hello, everyone. Ooh, I'll slow down. Max Smith, CEO and co-founder of Lengo. No pitch deck today because we're in the innovation space. So if you want to know more, we're happy to talk about it after the pitch, okay? We'll tell you about 5 things. Number 1, a very strong premise that Lengo is built on. We have 1.2 billion people in Africa. 90% of people are shopping in corner shops. And there's no central source of information on these shops. That's exactly what we're here to build. We're keeping it very simple with strong AI, pictures, text, and speech, okay? Second thing is we're an operating system. We're the gateway between the shopkeepers and the brands. We want to be the first to obtain the sales data from the corner shops. Then we push it to the CPG firms, and in return, they pay us on a SaaS subscription service. That's already happening. We've reached 20,000 MRR in 4 months in Senegal. And then we work on the inventory management with the shopkeepers. That's the added value we provide to them. Also pushing data and a little bit of our magic recipe. Second, with our CTO here, Ismaila Sek, PhD in AI, we're working on 3 patent technologies. 1, a chatbot for live conversations with the shopkeepers. 2nd, object detection on consumer goods in Africa. And 3rd, which is the best, is passive information, which is speech. People are speaking in the shops, we're listening in and getting most of the sales data that way. We're generating revenue thanks to Xavier, the former chief commercial officer for Jumia. He has the retail portfolio. We have 3 revenue streams, market intelligence. We're talking about 200 million ARR a year. We already reached 20 with 20 clients. We're going for 100 by the end of the year in Senegal. Second is advertising, because both the brands and the shopkeepers want to advertise on the channel. And third is a freemium with the shopkeepers. Why? Because we want to add so much value to them that they will even be paying for this service. What you have to know today is that we're raising 1 million. We already have a very strong link from Egypt. We're expanding into Nigeria in Q1 of next year. We've already have soft commitments for half of the round. And we're backed by very strong executives from Google, MTN, and Jumia, so we're standing on the shoulders of giants. In the end, we like our mission. It's hyper growth, but it's also for companies to stop guessing Africa. So if you're in, we'll be happy to go together. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Great presentation. Can you first tell us how does the merchant interact in terms of how you gather the data? Is there a physical device for the operating system? And then secondly, how do you differentiate between the plethora of B2B startup, e-commerce startups, right? Because they're starting by solving inventory, but also want to get this data analytics to provide to FMCG companies.
So for the first question, we're using the best app in the world, which is WhatsApp, okay? So we've integrated our AI models on WhatsApp, and today we've launched with 500 shops. So I think we're not here to sell you a fully digital story. The truth is we got into 21,000 shops first with agents, built the trust of the shopkeepers, and now they're using Lengo on the WhatsApp, okay? Second question, we see the B2B players as partners. Today we're already in conversations with some in Nigeria, in Morocco, looking to work with the ones in Senegal. Why? Because they can act on the information that we have. And also we help them with their costs, which are pretty high, and now they know where to win. So we're looking forward to these type of partnerships with them.
Thank you so much for your presentation and congratulations on traction to date. My question is basically on how you view other players trying to solve for the same problem on the continent, and in particular I want to reference a young up-and-coming one called Rwazi, who's also in the business of finding data for merchants and providing the same analytics to FMCG companies to help them inform how they drive their product penetration in areas that are traditionally unreachable to them.
Yeah. So I think the Rwazi raise was a great sign, because then we have less people asking us so many questions. They understand the model better. They seem to be more focused on consumer preferences, which is something that I've done previously. We're really into the sales data for the informal retail sector and then building that operating system.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. What a great pitch to end this pitching session. Thank you. This pitching session of Africa Rise for this AfricArena Dakar tour. So thanks a lot to our jury for being with us, for having such great questions. So thanks a lot for this final pitching session, and now we are about to close this day with the final panel. And just stay with us, because after the panel we will be hosting also the award ceremony. So stay with us, and after the award ceremony we are going to gather and get together at the D-Hub for a last and final VC networking and startup networking. Yeah, thanks a lot to our jury. So our next panel will be about building bridge of innovation between Africa and Europe. I think that during this last 2 days, it was all about creating bridge, creating strong ecosystem. And I think that with our coming speakers, we'll have the chance to definitely go into that in a very interesting conversation. So please, Mr. Bambalo, the one and only co-founder of PAPS App. Welcome, Bamba. Mr. Eduardo Herman, Head of Department and Management Board, member and assistant bis to IGMBH. That's right? Thanks. And Mrs. Kova Donga Rayon, you project manager at EBN. And to moderate this panel, Mrs. Miriam McCarthy, CEO and founder at Hedberg. Good session.
Thank you very much. It's me again. And now with new faces on here, I'd just like them to take a minute to introduce themselves. We get to know them a little bit more before we dive in. So over to you, Ms. Kopa.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. So I'm Covadonga Rayon, a project manager at EBN. We are the European Business and Innovation Center Network. We are a pan-European network of business support organizations, mainly incubators and accelerators. And due to the growing interest of our members in collaboration with Africa, we are now participating in different projects such as Enriching Africa, IDIMNet, and Big Africa.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eduardo Herman, and I represent a German company in the area of innovation consultancy, and we are the coordinators of the Enriching Africa project. Also co-founders of the new startup that will come out of the project, which is Enriching Africa Center. And we are very much focused on supporting the regional ecosystem in our region in Baden-Württemberg, the southwest of Germany, in order to make them more innovative and facilitate their internationalization and access to financing. We have also international projects, and Enriching Africa is one of them, in which we collaborate with our African collaboration partners. Glad to be here.
Hello everyone, so I am Bamba, CEO and co-founder of PAPS. So basically what we are trying to do is to build a logistics infrastructure here in Francophone Africa that goes from freight, warehousing, dispatch hubs, up to the last mile, and we've been doing that since a few years now, with operations in the Ivory Coast, in Benin, and in Senegal, obviously. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. So for many people, when we talk about innovation, we're talking about the practical implementation of services. How is connecting European ecosystems and African European systems fostering innovation in the continent?
Well, the way we see it, EBN, as I said, we are a network, so we really believe in building bridges and building new communities, but we see it as a win-win situation. Is good for our members in Europe, and we think it's good also for the ecosystems here in Africa. So as I said, we have seen a growing interest of our members in collaborating with counterparts in Africa, and they are taking part in different projects, as I said, in Reaching Africa. So they are starting collaborating with incubators and accelerators in another regions and countries, learning from each other, and even co-creating new programs that then they take again to their ecosystems, and they are being implemented here in Africa. At the same way, we also have seen room for us to bring some of the best practices we are implementing in Europe. We have been certifying incubators and accelerators for more than 40 years. So now, through some projects such as Big Africa, we are working in some regions in which we are giving capacity building to the incubators and accelerators, and we are also helping them in building regional networks, so to foster the collaboration within their ecosystem, to make the ecosystem stronger, and then to be able also to collaborate with external ecosystems and learn from each other.
Perfect. I want to bring Eduardo in because you have programs also, and how do you see this connection between both ecosystems being of benefit to either one? It could be Africa to Europe or Europe to Africa. How do you see that connection?
Yeah, I think that, we have heard a lot of times today the potential that it's out there for collaboration. I think there are basically two main key factors for success. The first one is related to identifying the synergetic areas where both regions can benefit of. The second one is raising awareness on what are the possibilities out there that can be grabbed. And the third one, which is of capital importance, access to information. And these are three elements that we are working on in all projects we do, in particular in the case of Enriching Africa, where we are bringing peers of both regions, incubators, accelerators from Africa and Europe. This is the first network that exists, having actors from both regions in order to learn from each other, mutually learn from each other, because it's not only, let's say, that Europe can learn from Africa, but also vice versa. And also, in that way, be able to provide better services to the innovators, to the, in this case, the startups.
Perfect, and I want to bring Bamba in. Bamba is a returnee, so I want to talk a little bit about how we can engage the diaspora in this innovation synergy and the connection. How can we do that, do you think?
I think the best way to do it is through the talent pool that the diaspora represents in the different countries. When you look at Senegal, when you look at Ivory Coast and all these countries, you have a lot of founders that came out of the diaspora. I think this is one. The second thing is obviously through capital, because if you look at Senegal only, it's around 800 billion per year that the diaspora inject in the economy, and that's not necessarily going into startups. So how can we create sort of organizations that enables those guys to be able to reach the innovation in the continent directly, which is sometimes far from them. Very hard to find a founder out in Dakar when you're based in Paris, even if you're from the diaspora. So how can we make that bridge? And the last thing would be in terms of market opportunity also. When you look at the Francophone space itself, France represents a smaller part of the Francophone space. The bigger part is in the continent. So that switch of economy being propulsed by the youth based in the continent can easily project the ecosystem in 2030, 2035 to be Central Africa, because it's in the RDC, sorry, because it's the biggest country where you have French speakers. And from there, the innovation can then go to the north, and also the clients and the consumer go to the north. So I believe, including the diaspora now, will enable the continents to create a new form of consumption that goes from the south to the north, or for the north to the south, through language, which is the one thing in common that we have in both continents.
Great. And Culver, you have a project ongoing, the AEDIB Net project. How is Europe leading the way or bringing innovation to the ecosystems that it's supporting on the continent?
Yes, so through ADVNet project, what we are doing, we are piloting the figure of DIHs, Digital Innovation Hubs in Africa. Digital Innovation Hubs are a coordinated group of support organizations that gather together their complementary expertise to foster digitalization in the area or in the region. So what we are doing is we are piloting this figure here in Africa. So we are supporting them at regional level, first building their business plan and also the sustainability plan for their continuity once the project is over. And then we are also connecting them to different ecosystems in Europe. So we are bringing them to different regions where they can also meet the DIHs there and see how they work. And what we have seen indeed is that they have some common challenges, so they are working together and they are also working together towards the development of new programs. But we are also trying to involve all the stakeholders of the ecosystem. So we have also a program, for instance, for the startups. We have selected 100 startups, 50 from Europe and 50 from Africa. And what we are doing is we are introducing them to different regional ecosystems. So we are organizing different sessions when they can get to know the different stakeholders, also different companies working on the same field, and then we are mentoring them on the needs they are having when they think about internationalization. And for instance, we are also organizing some events with the diaspora to try to engage them in this. So yeah, we are trying to cover all the spheres in the ecosystems.
Great. Eduardo, so oftentimes when we talk about connecting Europe and Africa, the assumption is that Europe is bringing innovation into the continent, but you have a lot of accelerator programs. What do you think the African ecosystem is exporting, or the European ecosystem can learn from the African ecosystem?
I think above all is the flexibility and the capacity to adapt to changing conditions. I think this is quite an issue that in this very dynamic environment you need to have. And in some cases, I think in particular in the case of Germany, it is sometimes a bit rigid, the way that the support programs are established for entrepreneurs. And the way the accelerators and incubators operate. And I think here we can see a lot of dynamism. For instance, here in Dakar, all the companies or many of the companies that were yesterday here at the stage, only some of them came from Dakar or from Senegal. So we have this very nice combination of the localization and the service provision, but the flexibility to bring, the innovative guys from wherever they want to. And I think this is a key factor for success. And this is what many African countries are doing quite well, in particular Senegal. And that's one of the learnings that I always share. We need much more flexibility. We need to have a much more relaxed approach. And wherever the talents are and the innovative companies are, they should be always here welcome. And one of the issues, most of you will agree with me, is, for instance, facilitating the visa. For instance, for African companies to simply visit us in Europe. This is quite disappointing, and again, has to do with flexibility, with a different way of understanding the current reality we have here. And this is something I always complain whenever I am also with the Commission people, the European Commission people. We need to have here a different understanding and in order to have a truly credible level playing field whereby much more innovative companies can come to here and also share their experiences and successful products and services with us.
I think that's a great point. I don't know if Bamba wants to add to that, particularly with when we're talking about how funding and investors can play a role, particularly when you're bridging the gap, right? Because as a founder, not sure how your funding process works, but I think it would be good to have a discussion about how bridging is not just innovation, but also the investment that comes with that innovation.
Yes, I think that the thing that was very helpful for us was to be able to very make difference between the investors from Europe, investors from the US, and investors from the continent. All of these type of investors have different set of standards that they are talking with, and as a founder, you have to navigate between the European one, the American one, and the African one. So that's our job, basically. So we are not asking also to from investors to adapt to founders, because I guess it's business and there is a market opportunity. I think what could be helpful for a founder is to be in contact as early as possible with the different type of VCs that are evolving around his environment and company. But for me, if there is one thing that have to be changed or that we need to challenge, is to bet on African founders, basically. Because when you look at the founding space, most of the money injected in the continents are also whether invested in foreign founders, which is not bad, but at the same time, you can also bet on local founders, even though they have things to learn in the future. So if we are thinking about ways that Europe also tries sometimes to discriminate positively on some aspect, that can be another aspect where we can discriminate positively in the continent. How much can you allocate on your fund to a local founder if you invest in Senegal, if you invest in Ivory Coast, if you invest in Kenya? I believe that is something that we need and that will help the ecosystem as a whole to just grow as one.
Great. So right now we're discussing Africa as a monolith, right? Because we're saying Africa, Africa, and I think we heard somewhere in one of the discussions, it's not a monolith. So what policies or what programs do you have that are targeted per region or country specific? I think it would be good to have some discussion around this, because when we talk about Africa, we're putting it in a box essentially. So what programs are there that are country specific, targeted, and what impact do you think that is in regards to innovation?
Yeah, I think you made a really good point. We talk about Africa, but we see, the reality of each ecosystem is really different. So even though our projects are mainly, as I said, building bridges and networks, they all have a regional focus. Even as a CBN, we are a pan-European network, and one of our main objectives is to create regional impact and to support regional development. And to do that, you need to go to the ground and have a bottom-up approach. So although, we are working in projects to build bridges and build new communities, we are creating, the main aim the final objective is to create an impact at regional level. So for instance, we have ADNet, as I said, we are testing these DIHCs, but we are doing this specifically in 12 regions. Then at TBN, we also have Big Africa working in 4 countries. And then in Enriching Africa, we've got this network, but within the network, each of our champions, the incubators and accelerators, they have programs on the field, on the region, so also making impact on the region. And so we think it's really important also to have this approach, because the reality of each ecosystem is different, so we don't need to lose that perspective, and always try to involve all the stakeholders from the bottom, so the end users, the society, and then startups, companies, and so on. So yeah, we need.
Great. Great. And Eduardo, I want to focus a little bit more on country-specific initiatives. You have the accelerator programs, you have this big network going on. Is it targeted, country-specific, or also is it just Africa as a whole?
We follow very much, let's say, bottom-up approach. We do believe that the best way to deliver services to innovators is that they should be delivered by the people who know the local conditions. Then we come back again to the topic localization, and that means they are, of course, let's say, to be located in one specific place. However, the type of programs they offer varies from type to type of organization. We work, for instance, very close with Methis, with SBC, with Bondinov, and they offer their programs, let's say, locally, but they are open for, let's say, all innovators come from all Africa. So this is the combination I was talking about before, that you need to have this flexibility in order to be much more effective and reach the objectives of your programs. It is, let's say, sometimes, of course, the technological specification that in a specialization you need to have is the one thing, whereas also many programs are also technology agnostic and at the same time, let's say, offered in a very well-defined, let's say, setup. This is, let's say, a bit the answer to that question. I just want to elaborate a bit on what you mentioned before, because, yeah, it's a huge challenge, the access to information. I started my intervention by saying that, and there is a huge fragmentation, of initiatives all over the continent, and the same applies for Europe and the different donors and DFIs that are offering different programs, different initiatives. And I asked myself, how is a startup? How in the hell is the startup in Kigali about to find out that there are so many opportunities? And this is exactly one of the pain points we have identified in Enriching Africa, and what Enriching Africa Center, the startup we have created, is about to provide an answer by becoming a sort of central entry point for both European and also African initiatives, where you can find, let's say, with a couple of mouse clicks, the relevant information for your type of a startup. Whatever it is, it's an acceleration program, it's an incubation program, it's a soft landing adventure, it's a learning expedition, or is directly access to finance through VCs. So this is an issue we have identified, where we see we will deliver definitely added value by doing so, and thereby, let's say, the benefits of getting engaged with us will cascade directly to the main beneficiaries, in this case, who are the innovators.
Great. And back to you, Bamba. How do you see the regulatory framework in ECOWAS region, because that's where you operate in? How do you see that in contrast to the framework that Europe has adopted, especially in the logistics sector for you?
I think it's quite the same framework, basically. I would say it's sort of a copy-paste framework. The only thing is that on the ground here in the continent, you can have a latency of the administration that it gives you a lot of trouble sometimes, and you need to operate without having some license, or otherwise you will not operate but expand in the country. And I've seen many founders open their startup, expand it to a country, waiting for approval to be able to operate. So it came back to knowing where to knock and where the information lies. Because if you want, for example, in my case, to expand in ECOWAS, you can go through the main country where you're operating, and from there they can connect you with the other agencies in the region. So basically, it took us 5 years to take a license in Senegal, and then it took us 6 months in Ivory Coast, and then it took us 3 months in Benin. So we learned a lot, but from 0 to 5, how do you do? We choose, and we choose to operate without having it. Some will not. I don't encourage people to do it. Voilà. That was a choice we had to make, and that's what we did. So.
Thank you for that. I want to come back to you, Eduardo. How do you think the EU funders view the investment landscape in Africa? There's innovation, but as we previously discussed, we need the money. So aside from connecting for innovation, how about the money aspect of it?
Well, this is the main issue, the main pain point for everyone, yeah, let's put it that way, the main opportunity. I think aside VC, which is still, to a great extent, at least in Europe, very much localized, I think that there are, many opportunities. And before, there was one startup that mentioned the issue of this 150 billion euro that are now considered in the context of the Global Gateway Initiative. Yes, that's true. So that is coming. Some of you might know the African Union, European Union Innovation Agenda is now, let's say, the framework in which a lot of this, let's say, funding or access to finance will take place. And yes, we are currently also in discussions with at least at the European level, from the European Commission side, with the DGs, the Director Generals that are very much dealing with entrepreneurship. And there will be quite few programs coming, either implemented by the Commission itself, but also by the European Investment Bank. Yeah, keep attentive. For us, it's a great, for Enriching Africa, it's a great opportunity because we will have access to this information firsthand and can put it forward to all the, innovation ecosystem participants here in the continent, and then, of course, help them to access these finance.
So we're getting innovation and money. That sounds wonderful to me. So Kova, just to close out this session, what support is your organization playing in the smart cities? This is getting bigger and bigger every day. We just saw a pitch by a Senegalese company using robotic systems. So how is your initiative supporting these sort of smart cities?
Well, in ADIPNet, indeed, we have one of the main topics is smart cities. So we have some of the DIHs focused on that field. And then we work in different, we work also in different European projects and also through our members. So our members also participate at regional, national, international level in smart cities initiatives. So yeah, but it's like kind of transversal, so also through digitalization and so on. But yeah, we do it through this kind of projects.
Okay, thank you everyone. It was a great session. I hope you learned something. We're here for questions. Please feel free.
Thanks a lot, Miriam, for facilitating this very interesting conversation. Let's go into some last question, maybe if you have some in the audience. Thanks a lot to you. Thanks. Thanks a lot, Miriam. Thanks a lot to all our speakers. Thanks. Thank you, and see you this afternoon. Thanks a lot. So that was our last panel for this AfricArena tour in Dakar. We were together, to talk about logistic innovation, mobility, and also fintech. And I think that you had the opportunity to grab a lot of insights and also to share very interesting conversation and to network. And now, to finish and to close this day, we are going to have this closing ceremony with the awards. I think that all of you are very, very excited to discover who we are going to award today. We had the opportunity to see a lot of them pitching during these 2 days. And I think that they will really deserve all these awards and the support of our partner and also ecosystem. So thank you so much for joining me on stage to close this, for this closing ceremony, for this award ceremony. Thank you.
Yes, we've made it. This has been great. I think, we end up these summits, which is usually not the first event we do in a location where we have events. And there's always a lot of, thinking about all the content we went through. We hope you enjoyed yourself and that you saw some amazing startups. That's the main objective, that you met incredible people that are going to help take your business forward, and that you're going to do some deals, because this is about doing deals, and that's at the core of AfricArena's DNA. So just a few reminders on why we do these awards. So first of all, remember when I spoke here yesterday, I mentioned the fact that we have these cameras for a very important reason, is that the main audience of AfricArena is in the cloud, is everywhere in the world. So typically an event like this has over 2,000 unique viewers throughout the 2 days. So I think we are around there for this specific event on our YouTube, LinkedIn, but also on AfricArena.com and our mobile applications. The pitch of all the startups have been recorded and will be published on our investor portal in the next few weeks. So we have hundreds of startups pitch recorded on that platform, and there's over 600 investors, corporates, people investing in startups that are using this, relatively frequently. So this is, a tool that you're going to be able to use going forward, is to refer investors to the pitch that you had on the platform, or you can yourself look at them. The panels, the keynotes, they are freely available on YouTube channel, so you can watch any keynote or panel again on the platform. Not the pitch, because for confidentiality reason we keep them behind the investor portal. So I just want to invite my colleague Nathaniel here on stage, just to talk about how you're feeling, Nathaniel. How many panels, keynotes, startup speech?
So many. We've had about 6 or 7 or 8 panels and keynotes. We had about 25 incredible, amazing, and very innovative startups who have joined us here at AfricArena. So it was super wild. So maybe just to give you guys a bit of a trajectory, so what you see at this event isn't everything that we accomplished. So before the summit, we did a 2 days boot camp in Sali with about 10 to 15 incredible founders. We gave them some lessons on, improving their investor pitch decks, and also just connecting on a founder forum to kind of find a better landscape for the future of how founders actually build and create and co-create their businesses. This 2-day summit was also quite intense. It couldn't have been possible without every single person who's building this ecosystem. I know the rest of you who aren't here right now, we really appreciated the attendance, and it was super incredible. Also, unfortunately, our job is not done here yet. In the next 3 days, we're going to be taking a couple of super incredible investors to Sali, where we will also be doing a bit more of an investor-run conference. We'll be also streamlining the way that investment is done on the African continent. But I think, without further ado, Christophe, I think we're ready for some awards.
Yeah, so the moment you're all waiting for. But before that, I just want to thank once again all our partners, without which this would not be possible, for this event and for our circuit. Our strategic partner is AWS, so I'd like to welcome OO on stage. There you go, you can make some noise for OO. He's been with us even at the boot camp, supporting the founders, but more importantly, AWS has been working with AfricArena for now 6 years. We've distributed over $3 million in AWS credit, but more importantly, together we help founders build and scale and raise. So, thank you, OO, for being here. Charlotte Newman was also here. So, we have the program on underrepresented founders with a specific action to showcase female founders. So I think you saw some of that. So a few words, OO, about the last 2 days or the last 4 days?
I'm always in awe as I tell them, how are they able to pack so much quality in such a short period of time across, most times a lot of programs are limited to either the South, East or West Africa, and AfricArena has been able to navigate it all. So I would say congratulations to you. AWS is always very happy to support people building for the future. And I'm available, I'm around. If you have any questions or challenges on how we or I can help you succeed, reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Oo. And Oo was with us in Cairo just a few weeks ago, so he's also traveling on the caravan. Also, on the AWS ecosystem, I'd like to call Ross, who has been supporting the Founders Bootcamp in particular. Ross represents Silicon Overdrive. They're a technology specialist on cloud and AWS, and he's also here to assist founders to build tech in a sustainable manner. A few words about your first time in Dakar, right? Did you enjoy it?
I did. It was fantastic. Loved the country. It was great to meet everyone. A lot of innovation. It was very exciting for me. Thank you.
Are you coming back?
Yeah, I'll definitely come back. I'd love to come back next year and see how everyone's doing. Visit the country, visit some more areas in the country. Yeah. And guys, just very happy to assist any startup. We can help you build out on AWS, scale on AWS, and access additional AWS funding. So please just reach out, let us know. Happy to help.
Thank you, Russ. And also with us today is the French Embassy in South Africa. So I'm very happy to announce that they have something special to say about some of the winners that we will disclose now. So what is the big surprise? And you represent the French Embassy in South Africa, and Mathieu Bécu is the Innovation Attaché. How was the last 2 days, and what is it you want to tell us about the special surprise?
Hi everybody, my name is Anna Khalifa. I'm working at the French Embassy in Senegal, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for for the event. Thanks to all the team of AfricArena to make this event possible. And we have a surprise. We're gonna finance 3 startups to go. Senegalese startups to go to the next AfricArena Cape Town station.
Right. So did you hear that? 3 Senegalese startups are gonna win a ticket to go to Cape Town at the end of November for the AfricArena Grand Summit, on top of the awards that we're gonna announce. So now, this is the time to announce the first award, the FinTech Award. Noah, do you want to join us on stage? So I just welcome the rest of the team. We have a small team here, as you can see. I want you to make some noise for Noah Amadou. She's been working with the startups and making sure that, as much as possible, they would have a great experience with the whole program and the selection. And Dan Mabialas with our logistics support, so he's working behind the scenes on all this beautiful setting. So well done to the team for that. So our first award goes to a very contended segment, especially here in West Africa, the top fintech startups. And so Nathaniel, the winner is.
I mean, you can see it. It's Julia!
Matthias. Is Matthias here? Okay. Anyone representing Matthias? Okay, that's fine. We'll just give it to him tonight. So now we're gonna announce our second track winner. Mobility. Do we have mobility? And the winner is Wigo from Morocco. So, after Ivory Coast, Julia, Wigo, Morocco. It's a special one because Saad won an award at AfricArena a few years ago, and now he's back with another award. How do you feel about that, Saad?
It feels great. Thank you for having us once again. And I'm happy to be here with you guys.
So he's raising some money and he rocks. So looking forward to seeing you maybe in Cape Town at the end of the year. Okay. Thank you, Saad. Our third award is the Women in Tech Award. So this award goes to a startup that was part of the SBC track, Economy. So well done to the team at Economy. And they already went to Sally for another founders event we're doing there. So she already has been advised that she won that, and we look forward to seeing her again very soon. So well done to her. That's the award that is sponsored by AWS, and that's why Charlotte was here. So I think there's going to be some special surprises on that one as well in the coming weeks. So our next award is Logistics, and it goes to Easy Chain, Togo. Oh, he's already on his flight. We'll ship it to him. Yeah, well done. Okay, so we're gonna go back to Cape Town with a lot of awards. Are we taking them to, okay, let's go to Togo. So this is the hardware. So the hardware track, which is sponsored by Savant, great keynote by the team, thank you very much, is Limawa. Okay, same thing. Right, is there anyone here? Are we gonna maybe start giving awards to the people who are left? Okay, so how many awards we still have? We're almost done, no? Sustainable construction, smart city, and that one goes to Lola Green. Are you still? Oh, wow! Amazing to see how much resilience you have. So well done, Lola Green. Great pitch, by the way.
I'm excited to have won this, and let's change the world one plastic waste at a time. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And then I think it's our last award, right? Well, we have some special awards after that, but the AfricArena Award goes to Lengo. Max here? No? Oh, there we go. You just came back?
Thank you very much to the AfricArena event. We had been in the stands for the past couple of years, so we're really thrilled by the opportunity to present Lengo today. So thank you to the whole team and for making this happen in Dakar.
Are you building on AWS? Good, because you're getting $10,000 in AWS credit, and since you're gonna go to the next stage, you might get up to 25,000. So well done. Make some noise for Lego. And then we have two more awards that are special because they go to the most promising entrepreneur and most innovative business model. So the winner of the most promising entrepreneur goes to Biram Sok from Kweli, who loves pictures and talking on stage, right? Well done, Biram. Hope you had a nice couple days.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to get the recognition. I always say it's very hard, and when we get this, it's not about winning, it's just about realizing that people are watching us and see the work that's being done. So thank you for putting all of this together and making sure that we're all here together, making it happen. Thank you.
Glad you were with us, and really well done. I love your business, so fantastic. Thank you, Biram. And then, so most innovative business model, that goes to a business that the judges felt that really came with really some cool tech, innovative business. Obviously, all the startups here are innovative, but this is particularly interesting from a business model and tech innovation point of view. And that goes to IQ Pay, Michelle and Yannick from South Africa. And Michelle had some problem with the slides, but look, your resilience showed once again.
Just a big thank thank you to Christoph and to the team for having us here, for all the tremendous support. These platforms just mean so much to our startups, and we're really grateful for it, so thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. I hope you enjoyed the boot camp in Sally. Okay, and so now we're announcing the 3 Senegal business that are gonna go to Cape Town.
Mad. Kaitu. And Safe Truck.
Well done, guys. Going to Cape Town. You can give her a kiss.
Well, thanks everyone. It's an honor, and we hope that we can represent Senegal in Cape Town. Thank you.
Kaitu and no? Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much. It's an honor, and we are glad to be representing Senegal in Cape Town with the other folks. Thank you very much.
Bravo. Félicitations. And Safe Track, no? Not in the room? Okay, great. Well, that's a wrap. I don't know if the winners can just come back on stage quickly to make a group pictures, and then we'll be on our way to the D-Hub. Can I ask the founders to come back on stage? Just gonna do a quick group pictures. Make some noise for our founders. Encourage them. It's been a long 2 days. Yeah. Bring your awards with. We need them. So we have winners from Togo, South Africa, Senegal. Many different countries. That's great. Any more winners? No? Thomas, come over here. Thank you, Thomas, for being a great judge and supporting the bootcamp. And thanks to all our support on the tech side, in spite of some of the challenges, the hospitality for the great venue here at the museum. I hope you had time to look at to visit a bit the museum. If not, you can still use a few minutes on your way out. And thanks to all our judges, including Nick and Tahir. I mentioned the 7 challenges. You can come on stage, the judges, if you want. Yannick, come on. Our partners from Enrich in Africa, Eduardo, Koma. Okay, let's do a nice group picture, guys. And thanks to all of those who traveled from far away, sometimes enduring 20 hours or more, to be here in Dakar with us. Yeah, so this is the end of the 5th AfricArena Dakar Summit, and we hope to be back next year. Yeah! Saint-Louis. Good night. See you later at D-Hub.